From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Man, am I still pretty? And he's like, you ain't pretty, but you're going to be all right.
And now I'm just hanging on, looking at the wall, like flying this way. And I'm like, oh man, I got to let go of this thing at some point.
And then there's one that could literally pick you up.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not really sure about that, but yeah.
That's called a helicopter.
Well,
And the last lap was just chaos. I mean, like 4 wide, 5 wide.
It's like whatever, if you land it and send it into the fence, you're probably not gonna get hurt. Bounce, and then this insane roll, the car that Keegan was in. I mean, I don't know, it's the shape of the Beetle or what, but that thing sent it.
So I was the supercharger specialist on my old man's car with
Specialist?
Yeah, it sounds cooler than crew guy.
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart.
I'm Mario Andretti.
I'm Christy Lee.
I'm Alexander Rossi.
I'm Cruz Pedregon.
I'm Kenny Wallace, and this is The Skinny.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny. Mr. Rico Elmore has joined me here at the Big V desk. I'm Ken Stout. That is Michael Young back there behind the controls. Strap in, as Jack Hewitt would say, get in the tuck position. Pull those belts down here one more time because our guest this week is going to take us for a ride. We're all just going to try to hang on and see if we can't keep up with him. How about some 900 starts in NASCAR? That's pretty significant. Ladies and gentlemen, after 25 years in the business, he's still getting it done. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Kenny Wallace.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Man, you guys got a nice setup there.
Thanks, brother. We got to get you in here into the studio.
It's always better and real, that's for sure.
Your current racing career, which, I just saw you at SRX. Tell me about that. What were your feelings on that show?
So the SRX series is made up of the world's greatest race car drivers. As you know, you're friends with Tony Stewart and everybody there, whether it's Tony Kanaan or Kenny Schrader or Paul Tracy. And, every week it changes out. So, they got Kyle Busch and Helio Castroneves, who's won 4 Indy 500s. I mean, the SRX series is so awesome because you get all these different, race car drivers together that are just so good at what they do. I mean, these are, Tony Stewart, right? A champion in IndyCar and in Cup. And, it was an honor that they asked me. I didn't think I was deserving, but they said I was. So, I just think it's a hell of a show. And what makes SRX better than the IROC series is that this deal comes to your local track. I like what they're doing with Thursday Night Thunder live on ESPN, on the flagship station, and stations like your guys. I mean, we're all in this together, and we love racing, and we all want it to be better. And the SRX series, all it does is make things better. So, yeah, I really like it.
Hey, let me ask you something. Do you think Paul Tracy would have had that long of an IndyCar career driving the way he does in those cars?
He is crazy.
Do you remember Paul Tracy? Because I think he did drive that way in IndyCar.
So, you know what's funny is my brother Rusty says, Herm, it's sad to say you have to remind people because they remember what they want to. And, here in a little bit, August 23rd, I'll be 60 years old. And, Paul Tracy drove for my big brother's boss, Roger Penske. But I'll be honest with you. I spent a lot of time in the motorhome with Paul Tracy and his wife or girlfriend, I'm not sure, Tony Kanaan and his wife. These are wonderful people. They are so much fun.
Absolutely.
But, buddy, when they get on the racetrack, me and Schrader were talking about it. It's kind of funny. So in IndyCar, you can't touch, right? Because it's open wheel. And it's like when they come to run these SRX cars and they realize they can touch, holy hell, they knock the hell out of us. I mean, I was leading my heat. Me and Keselowski started side by side, and I took off. Led for about 3 to 5 laps, and my throttle broke. That was all on national TV. My throttle breaks, and it's got a little something. And Marco, who's a lover, good guy, but boy, you want to be careful racing him in a full-bodied car. He hit me in the ass so hard moved me up the track. Then that was good. Then he hit me in the side, and everybody that runs this SRX series, they go, man, watch out for those IndyCar guys. It's like they can't believe they can bump and rub. So they literally knock the ever living hell out of you. It's crazy. Now Kanan is he's a good racer. He just passes you. The other Paul Tracy and Marco, I love them, but they're crazy. Did you drop a deuce in my motorhome? Was I not supposed to? No, you don't use my bathroom. I'm like, whoa.
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Welcome back to the Fatheads Eyewear Studios. I'm Ken Stout, Rico Elmore sitting alongside. We have Kenny Wallace in the studio with, well, not in the studio. We have him on the show with us, but he's coming from his studio, his home as well. So we appreciate you taking the time out here. Just outside of St. Louis, Missouri is where you reside. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Arnold, Missouri. Basically leave the Arch, right downtown St. Louis, go about 20 miles south on Interstate 55, like you're headed to Memphis, and I'm about 20 miles outside of St. Louis.
Yeah, great stuff. You have 3 daughters as well. Are they all still relatively close?
Yes, we have 3 daughters, Brooke, Brandy, and Brittany, and they're 32, 34, 36. Each of them right now have 2 children. Now, our youngest one, Brittany, she just had her first baby. It's a girl. It's baby Lila. Beautiful name. And so that's her first one. So now we have 5 grandbabies, and we're super excited about it. We're living our best life. I'm retired and, doing all sorts of different things. So we're living our best life.
So retired, living your best life, and you got the IndyCar guys beating the hell out of you. You got to watch out, man. You've got grandkids.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, those SRX cars, they got such big, it looks like 1 3/4 090 wall tubing, and it's metal to metal, and it is a whiplash.
That thing's a tank.
They are tanks. They literally are. They are tanks. And there's no such thing as an easy hit. And I'm going to tell you what, when Tony Kanaan looked like he was going to win up at Stafford 2, the second one. And, track is a neat track, but really hard on brakes. And Tony was, leading on the restart. And he went down into 1, and that thing did not stop. And he hit that wall a ton, man. And, I kind of went, ow. And then Brad Keselowski, I think Brad got tagged by somebody and he backed it into the wall. And so there's no such thing as an easy hit, especially here lately, even in NASCAR with this next gen car, because it's like they all believe in rigid, very hard. So it's a tough blow.
Yeah, the carnage at Stafford was crazy. And not really due to everybody's, driving. I mean, some, but man, Kanaan, I think he had the field covered, had a great car, was running a great race, and yeah, he went down into 1, and it's like he lifted and thought, I hope this works out, and he snowplowed it straight to the wall. I hated it for him because, like I said, like Kenny said, he was doing an amazing job, and if it would have finished the way that it finished, or the way that they were running when Kanaan wrecked, so it shuffled him a little bit again, you would have had a podium full of 3 different nationalities from 3 different countries.
That's awesome stuff.
I mean, Daniel Suarez was one, Kanaan, and I can't remember who the other one was right now. So, but yeah, it was
Marco ended up 3rd, so it might have been Marco Andretti. But
well, that was after he wrecked a few people.
Yeah, well, I will say this that caught me off guard. Like, we go to race the SRX series, and we're serious, and we want to win. But like Kanaan, we both, about 3 of us shared, a motorhome to get dressed, get undressed, and he was devastated. I mean, his wife was crushed for him. I felt bad for them. And he's an Indy 500 winner. I mean, Kanan's good, but one thing I learned, what I'm trying to say is we all take it serious, but it's like, okay, no big deal. Let's go home. But I felt bad for Tony and his wife because they were very upset. And that just tells you how serious these race car drivers are. And and I'm one of them. And, my throttle fell off and I was more upset than I was mad. I'm like, how embarrassing. But, it's part of the sport.
Yeah. And I think when you win out of that group of people too, you've done something, right? It's not like you haven't done something winning the 500 by all means, but
Right.
You've got the Tony Stewarts, you've got the, Kenny Wallace, Kenny Schrader, you've got Marco, all these guys that have from all these different disciplines, and absolutely 100%. I could see it in his face when he was coming off the track, and yeah, it was ugly to see. And how about those motorhomes? So those are provided by Rev Group, who does our stuff with American Coach and some of their other great brands. So American Coach, or my buddy that runs that joint, they gave him 2 coaches to use for the races. And before, the other provider, I won't mention who it is, they would bring out the tow behinds, which are fine, no big deal, but they had the toilet seats taped shut.
Right.
So they couldn't use the toilets. They couldn't.
Because no matter how many signs you put up, it doesn't matter. If you let them in, they're going to use it.
Right. And Stewart's like, we're supposed to be getting ready in here. I mean, what is this? So it was. I was happy to see they weren't taped shut. So
it is crazy though, because some people that have motorhomes, and it's true, they're like, did you drop a deuce in my motorhome? Was I not supposed to? No, you don't use my bathroom. I'm like, whoa. leave it up to me to tell you you're exactly right. But it is really strange. Here's my motorhome. Don't do nothing in it. Okay.
I turned the fan on.
Yeah. I mean, but you're although it's embarrassing to talk about that, that is so true. I've seen that. Like, we got air conditioning, sit on the couch, and that's all you do. Okay. Kind of whispers to me, goes, what was that all about? I said, I don't know. Maybe I should have been a dirt racer.
You're looking at the 1986 ASA Rookie of the Year, the 1989 NASCAR Busch Series Rookie of the Year, and how about most popular driver in the NASCAR Busch Series, 1991, 94, 2006, and let's throw him a curveball here, Kenny, the 2005 Prelude to the Dream winner. That's a big one, man.
Yeah, that was my second part of my life. As you said, I really wanted to learn how to race dirt, but nothing really happened for quite a while until Tony Stewart bought Eldora, and they dreamed up that Prelude to the Dream. So it was the night or the week before the big Dream race at Eldora. So I didn't know what I was getting into, and went up there, and I'm racing Tony Stewart. I'm racing Bill Elliott. I'm racing the dude Lasowski and Schrader, and great race car drivers. And I never forget. I drove. Well, you know what? I was looking. I don't have that die cast up here, but I was racing Patrick Shelter's car, and I showed up. I'm like, wow, I had never been to Eldora. Now, mind you, I grew up around dirt racing, and my dad raced on dirt. My brother Mike. Rusty won some USAC races against AJ Foyt, at the DuQuoin Mile or in DuQuoin, Illinois. But, I wouldn't say it at that time, I'd never run dirt. So I showed up at Eldora for the first time ever, 2005. And I'm like, wow, look at this place. And I won the damn race. I just kind of drove it like Winchester. You know, I grew up at Winchester and ASA. And, you know, instead of tossing it sideways, they had the tracks set up slippery. And I'll never forget, you know, it was a big deal. I mean, it was standing room only. There was 20,000 people there. And Tony Stewart comes to Victory Lane. He looks at me, he kind of whispers to me, he goes, "What was that all about?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe I should have been a dirt racer." So that truly was the start of me racing on dirt. 2005, won that Prelude to the Dream. And, buddy, it was like opening up a bag of potato chips. From there on, here I am now. We've won 109 dirt races. We've raced all over, and we traveled a lot, and we went on, and we've had some success. So we did a lot in so we started in the dirt super late models, and we won some big super late model races. But when that happened, I was like 46 years old. I started dirt racing at 44, and late bloomer. So we won the Prelude to the Dream. We won Cleveland, Tennessee, and I was spending $5,000 a race. And I said, "What the hell am I doing?" So my buddies around home here, they run modifieds. Modifieds are about a $75,000 race car. They're about fourth in line. You got the World of Outlaw sprint cars, the World of Outlaw late models, the center steered cars from up there in New York, super dirt, and then the mods. And the mods, they're just right. They fit my pocketbook. Still spend about $200,000 a year on them. But there's always a division for everybody. And you're right. So that's the story about that 2005 Prelude to the Dream.
That's, I mean, for the fans, if you're not familiar with it, first of all, the Dream is absolutely, as it's described, one of the biggest dirt races. So for you to come out there without any real experience and win that race, that's why it got Tony Stewart's attention. It's like, are you kidding me, dude?
Well, I really think that, first of all, number one, Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson, these are gifts from God. These guys, in my opinion, had God-given talents. They are better than all of us. They rise above the best. And then there's the rest of us. And, you know, man, I made it to the Cup Series in NASCAR really quick, you know. So I think I have I still have the most starts in the history of the Xfinity Series at 545 starts and 340-something Cup starts and like 11 or 12 truck starts. I think the moral of the story is this. When you make it to the Cup Series as quick as I did, only because I had success in ASA, you know, you have to have a fast horse. So I once asked Dale Earnhardt Sr., he won the Bud Shootout, and he kept starting in the back and going to the front. And there's another gift from God, Dale Sr. And I said, "My God, you were fast." Dale Sr. taught me something that I'll never forget, and I'd like to share that with all the young racers out there. He said, when you have a fast horse, you ride it. So when you get to the Cup Series, you have to have a fast horse because everybody's so good. So I think when I went back and ran dirt and I won, it was a big lesson to me that, oh, wow, the car really matters. For years, you thought you just get in any old car, and if you're good, you can make up. But the sport changed so much, the competition became so good that, you know, then I was able to get in that Pennzoil car when Steve Park got hurt and immediately set quick time at Rockingham and run second. And so that really was an era, you know, where it opened everybody's eyes that times are changing. The greats can't even make up anymore. So, yeah, when I won the Prelude to the Dream, it was definitely an eye-opener for Tony and me because I didn't know where I fit in life. You know, am I good? Am I not? And so then that opened up to get in some other great race cars.
His name is Kenny Wallace, but to his good friends, they call him Herman. We'll touch on that when we come back.
And he just ever so slightly got on my bumper and just pushed me. And before I knew it, I'm up the track loose.
Kenny Wallace is with us here on the Skinny. We're in Speedway, Indiana, just down the street from that famous place known as Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, this guy is known for his world of NASCAR racing. He just touched on it a little bit before. I believe the real numbers here, because they do add up to 900 in my quick gorilla math, is 547 starts in Xfinity, 344 starts in Cup, another 13 in Craftsman Truck, is a nice round number of 900 starts in NASCAR. Man, that is an absolute massive number.
It's funny because I'll never forget, I think it was Bobby Rahal. Somebody said something, about 900 starts, and Bobby, the IndyCar guys are like, what? We could never imagine racing that much. I admire the IndyCar guys so much, as you being there in Speedway, Indiana. They're talented and great race car drivers, but these guys are lucky to run 16 races a year. And man, we just run, in NASCAR, what happened was I would run the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. I did that for a lot of years. Run 60 races a year in the Cup Series and the Busch Series. So that's how that count got up there so high. Was I ran both series for years, every week. Run the Cup race, get out, run the Busch race. And that's where that count got so high.
And obviously it's changed now. After COVID, it changed significantly in terms of seat time. But back when you were doing it, there was a ton of practice time as well. So when I look at you, whenever you refer to the IndyCar guys, let's say at SRX, where we've got fenders, we can hit these guys, and they're so abrasive the way they do it. You guys make contact, but you can finesse it. You know how to upset the other car just enough to make your move, make your pass without crashing the guy. You just lay on the back bumper a little bit, tighten them up for just a moment, and then slide down underneath them, and it looks like absolutely nothing, right? But these guys don't have that massive amount of seat time that you spent behind the wheel of a race car.
Man, I tell you what, you are 110% right. I am thinking right now, when you were talking about a night race in the Busch Series, it's called the Xfinity Series. People like to argue about that. It's the same damn series, just a different sponsor.
That's right, exactly.
So, but I'll never forget, this is how much it amazed me. I was going down into turn 3 at Bristol, and all of a sudden I realized I'm up a lane. Harry Gant was so good. He went down the straightaway, and he just ever so slightly got on my bumper and just pushed me. And before I knew it, I'm up the track loose. He didn't knock the hell out of me. And I thought, wow. And it's funny, right? Because I really respected what just happened. I'm like, he just moved me without wrecking me, without knocking the hell out of me. So you're right. As we say back in the day, in the NASCAR series, no matter what series it was, there's an art to moving people without creating enemies. And those guys like, Harry Gant and Jack Ingram and Tommy Ellis and Tommy Houston, you run those little bull rings in what was called the Busch Series. We would run Rougemont, Hickory, Myrtle Beach, it was hard to pass because you raced around the bottom. You could hardly get to the outside of the driver. So everything was bump them, get underneath of them. And that's the way I grew up racing. So, yes, you're right. There's an art to moving people.
You were talking about Winchester Speedway. I mean, I grew up there, Mount Lawn Speedway, Anderson Speedway, Salem Speedway. That was kind of my gig, was all of those, and watching you guys back then. And was it Rex Robbins? Was that who it was? ASA? That's who started it, right?
Yes, it was Rex and Becky Robbins, and ASA in your area up there in Indianapolis. That defined me, and Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace and Alan Quickie and, Matt Kenseth. Matt didn't run much ASA, but he came out of Artco and right around Wisconsin there. But listen, everybody's from somewhere. And I just happen to come from taxi cab racing, as the IndyCar guys like to call it, which I think is funny. But, and then, I think it's really awesome to see all these different racers come from somewhere. And ASA, Dave Argerbright's got a really good book out about ASA. And ASA was an open wheel sprint car series first, and then quickly morphed into, the great stars, Bob Seneca, Mike Eddy, you name it. But I get very emotional thinking about ASA. I missed the 50th reunion at Anderson, Indiana, a couple of weeks ago because I was working for Marcus Smith up at Loudon. We brought that NASCAR race day show back, and we do a handful of them behind the grandstands. But Anderson was a favorite track of mine. Little bitty track, right? You could fit 6 of them inside Winchester. I remember one guy, me and my mom both ganged up on him. She's beating him with an umbrella, and it was on.
The Skinny is brought to you by American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04.
Kenny Wallace is with us here on the Skinny. Hey, man, obviously you, your brothers, Rusty and Mike, all very successful at racing. But as I was researching there a little bit, Pops was pretty solid as well. Old Russ could wheel a race car. And I teased this a couple of segments ago. From what I was able to gather, the nickname Herman came from Lake Hill Speedway. Promoter Bob Mueller made a note of your boisterous antics going on as you were defending Dad one time. Apparently he won so much that he wasn't always the fan favorite there. Is this true?
100% accurate. The only thing I can add to it is by now everybody knows that I'm really off-centered and different. I always tell everybody there's 3 of me. I'm venturing out to say, if you know Tony Stewart, like we all know Tony Stewart, there's about 3 or 4 of Tony too. And
correct.
So there's the crazy one, that's the Herminator. And then there's Kenny Wallace, who is the dad, Kenny Wallace that pays the bills. But buddy, I'm gonna tell you what, we were guilty of winning all the time. And I learned early on that, competition will kill you. When somebody wins that much, I saw that at an early age. I'm like, why don't you like my dad? What did he do wrong? He won too much. And I'll tell you what, there was a time where these fans would say, I hope your dad burns to death. I'm like, it emotionally scarred me to where here I am almost 60 and I remember it. And so I would respond. And I don't care what it was, but me and my mom, we were fighting every Sunday night in the grandstands. They hated us.
And so the nickname, by the way, let me complete it because it's Herman, obviously, the Herminator, but it was from the cartoon character, mischievous cartoon character, Herman the German, which I'm not familiar with. I mean, I read the comics a little bit. He said he had bobbleheads, and there it is. So had you ever heard of Herman the German at the time?
So Bob Miller, the promoter, stood like 6'6", 6 foot 6 inches, and he nicknamed me Herman the German. There he is. That's Herman the German. Like year 1670, I don't know, medieval warrior. And he was ready to fight. And so I fought for my dad. And Herman had a wife. Let me show you. There's Herman's wife. So this is the most accurate story ever told. You're the first one. So Bob Miller, big German man, he nicknamed me Herman the German because I was a warrior. My dad, I'm sorry my dad won, but I will tell you this. I'm not going to get off subject. It made me like Jimmy Johnson more because Jimmy Johnson, 7-time NASCAR Cup champion, they hated him. He was too good, too nice. I'm like, man, I've been there. This guy's really good. So the more you win, the more you dominate, it impresses me more because I grew up with my dad dominating. And at several tracks, Friday night on dirt, Tri-City Speedway, Granite City, Illinois. Then Sunday on asphalt, like you said, Lake Hill Speedway, Valley Park, Missouri. But these people were brutal, man. And me, I remember one guy, me and my mom both ganged up on him. She's beating him with an umbrella, and it was on. I'm not proud of it. It's just the way it is, you know.
No, I love it. I clearly love it. I'm in. Come on, Mom. We're going to go take this out.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, honestly, I've been on both sides of that where you get tired of seeing something. It's like, well, somebody please beat that guy. Now, I don't know that I ever got to the extreme that I hated the guy,
right?
You know, but I know where you, and it's not that you hate that guy. It's just like, can somebody please beat this guy? I mean, come on, somebody's got to be as good as this guy.
Same thing. I think the only one that ever got away with it, and he had some haters too, was Dale Sr.
Oh, he had plenty. Well, so fill us in on that story because
Gordon had more haters maybe than
well,
anybody.
Earnhardt, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Herman. He had a bunch of haters earlier on in his career when he was busy earning the nickname the Intimidator. He was pissing some people off all along the way, and at some point, those tables turned, and he became the most endeared racer of all time.
So. I have my own Kenny Wallace show, and I use this disclaimer. It's called Here's My Disclaimer. My disclaimer is this. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and myself are good friends. We talk. We love each other. We really do. And we respect each other. One thing that people need to be reminded of is Dale Earnhardt Sr. went through hell early in his NASCAR career because he'd as soon wreck you than to pass you.
That's right.
And no, it's true. And he was hardcore. Senior was trying to make a living. He needed the money. You're right. It wasn't until like you started looking in the mirror and here he come. And you had two choices with Dale Sr. You either move right away or he's going to move you. And that's where he got the nickname Intimidator. So, at first it's like, and listen, I love Mark Martin. I know I got a lot of word loving going on here, but what I mean, we're good friends. I would never talk bad about Mark. But Mark is the perfect racer. He'll work on you for 10 laps trying to pass you, right? Dale Sr. give you like 2 seconds. So
I know you saw me in the mirror. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, you saw me coming. So Dale Sr. wrecked the hell out of everybody all the time. Well, then it started slowing down because everybody simply started moving out of the way. He didn't change. Dale Sr. never changed. It's everybody else changed. And it helped him win a lot of championships because it's like, I'm moving out of his way. He's going to wreck me. He's crazy. He'll wreck himself. Earnhardt Sr. said to me that night, we were drinking vodka and orange juice after the race. And he said, Herman, what do you want for doing that? I said, I don't want nothing.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Ken Stout with you here. Rico Elmore, the track dude, and an exciting Kenny Wallace. Great to have you on the show, man. So much energy. That's what you've always been as long as I've known you. You talked about memories. We were talking about Dale Earnhardt. I gathered this little nugget here. I want to run it past you. I find it very exciting. I know you never got a win in Cup. 3 poles is what I gathered there. 27 top 10s. You pounded around the front, no question about it. But you finished second there a couple of times. And one of the times that you finished second, I would think to you would be, if I've got to finish second, this is the way I'd like to do it. The year 2000, sole top 10 came in a second place finish to Dale Earnhardt in the Winston 500. You pushed Earnhardt to the front, and it was his 76th and final victory.
Yeah, so much to say there. So yeah, we wanted a better career. I was miserable with my NASCAR career. One reason I moved back to St. Louis because I was bitter. I didn't want to be around North Carolina anymore. However, when I got into Pennzoil cars, like I said earlier in the show, quick time, run second. Ran good in that 55 squared E car, run second at New Hampshire. But there's no doubt, and we all joke about it to this day, the most famous second place ever. Myself at Talladega, but there's such a backstory to that whole deal. So 1986, I started racing in ASA. Dale Earnhardt Sr. started running an ASA car, the black number 8 Camaro. He'd come up here to, up to Minnesota for the Minnesota State Fair. He'd run Slinger. Earnhardt Sr. liked ASA. But he also remembers me, 1984, I was a Winston Cup crew chief for the Levi Garrett car, Joe Ruttman. So remember, I didn't start racing until I was 22 years old. I was a fabricator mechanic. So Dale Sr. knew me from being he just couldn't believe it. He goes, "You're a fabricator, mechanic, crew chief?" So when he saw me racing, he was, Dale Sr. thought it was pretty cool. So in November of 88, my brother Rusty single-handedly, I love Rusty. Here I go with the love again. But I'm a lover. Rusty called me up and he said, "Herman," he said, "I'm going to build you a Busch Grand National team." I mean, my jaw dropped, right? But later on, Rusty said, "I'm doing that because you helped me my whole career." So the way that all started was Rusty needed for me to run a Busch Grand National car for the Busch Series to approve me. A guy named Robert Black ran the series. He had to see me. So Dale Sr. let me drive his number 8 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet at Martinsville. Let me see, November, maybe of 1988. I run 12th, I think. And NASCAR liked what they saw. We made a resume. My girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, my mom, we created a resume. We gave it to Les Richter, and they looked it all over, and they said, "Okay, we like this kid, Kenny Wallace. He's not crazy. He drove Earnhardt's car. He's raced at Winchester, Salem. We'll let Kenny Wallace come to Daytona and run the Busch Grand National race." So my whole life, up until then, I felt like I owed Earnhardt. Me and my wife, we wrote him a thank you card and this and that. And so now fast forward 25 years. Here we are, Talladega. I look in my mirror after a bad pit stop, and I came out last. And laster was Earnhardt. I said, "What happened to Earnhardt?" They said he had a bad pit stop. Well, buddy, this is where the whole story fast forwards. I mean, there's 10 to go. We're running 200 mile an hour at Talladega, and we're bopping and weaving. And Earnhardt's following me to the front. Then all of a sudden, I get picked by Matt Kenseth. We broke this story down a lot on Fox TV with Andy Petrie. And Earnhardt gets back in front of me. And on that day, he's wearing white gloves. You see the video all the time. He goes like that to me. When Dale Earnhardt Sr. did that to me, I thought, you know what? I need to pay him back. Because I don't think he charged Rusty anything for letting me drive his Busch Grand National car back in 88. And I said, "Me? Okay." And I was the only one, my car, back in those days, we had different rules. We had a gurney flap across the roof and on the rear, and I could stay with Earnhardt somewhat. I couldn't really get to his bumper, but nobody was going to get in between us. And by God, I stayed loyal to him. And Earnhardt, Dale Sr., told this story to everybody in victory lane. And for me, it was a second place finish. But after they interviewed Earnhardt Sr., they said, how did you win this race? And Dale Sr. said, Kenny Wallace, Kenny Wallace. I heard my name all over the loudspeaker, and that was it. Buddy, all them Earnhardt fans, they love me to this day. And it was a history-making time because, sadly, like you said, I could almost cry. That was the last win of his life. And, until then, it was $1 million he won. It was $1 million bonus called the No Bull Race. And he won it. And he said to me, Earnhardt Sr. said to me that night, we were drinking vodka and orange juice after the race. And he said, Herman, what do you want for doing that? I said, I don't want nothing. You gave me my starting cup or in the Busch Series. He put his arm around me. So, I mean, that is definitely a hell of a story. It's a real story. It's accurate. And, it was very sad that was his last win.
With that, we will take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more from Kenny Wallace.
Want to get the skinny on other guests and different types of motorsports? Check out our YouTube page and get the skinny. The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Welcome back to the Fatheads Eyewear Studios. This is the Skinny. We have an exciting Kenny Wallace, better known as Herman, here with us on the show, coming to us from his home in the St. Louis, Missouri area. We will go there at least. Michael was picking out some of the items that you have back behind your head, Michael.
Well, yeah, so I'm looking. Let's get on Kenny now. So I love the Dick Trickle banner. That's like one of my favorite things. The seat is from Busch Stadium, correct? Now, below the champagne, is that autographed by Tony Stewart? Who's that autographed by?
Tony, everybody's my friend, right? Sorry, it's a little embarrassing. Miami Homestead, T-Stew. Like yourself, whenever you do the Kenny Wallace show or you all have your nice show, we try to find some knickknacks, and we got a lot of good stuff. And of course, the Dick Trickle banner. I just was at the Dick Trickle Memorial. What is on me? Oh, old shop towel. I've been up in the shop.
It's been there the whole show. It's great.
Good. Now we know. So anyway, somebody gave me that Dick Trickle pennant because I went to the Dick Trickle Memorial this year in Wausau, Wisconsin, and cried like a little baby. Couldn't go there for years because everybody knows Dick Trickle was my hero, number one. I mean, it was my dad, my brother, my family, and Dick Trickle. And Dick taught me how to race. He was very good at therapy and psychology. And when we lost Dick, it was a devastating blow. And but happy I went up there. I think everybody should visit the Dick Trickle Memorials. Very well done, very nice. But a fan gave me that, and I said, "Now that is old school, and that's really the way it was." And that's how I remember Dick when I was a kid. The A&W or the Super America, Ford Mustang, and my God, he won so much. But he's a better person than he was a race car driver.
Hey, man, we want to thank you for your inspiration. You're just one of those guys. You're a motivator. You're a natural motivator. You're an incredible ambassador for our sport. All the memories you've given us all along the way, your infectious enthusiasm to this day. You're just an absolute pleasure to be around, man. We appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. We know everybody's after you all the time, but thanks a lot, man, for everything you've done in this industry.
Well, same to you. Your voice is legendary. Everybody knows your voice. You've done a lot.
Here we go.
And Rico, you too, buddy. You're a good man. Thanks for having me on.
He just threw that in there so you wouldn't feel bad.
You're right. You're right. I wanted him to know that I love him too because I'm that type of person. I can't leave nobody out.
Don't worry about Michael.
Hey, man, we're going to close
I love
with
you,
this.
Michael.
Thank you.
We love
Thank
you
Kenny.
too, man. We love you too. Kenny Wallace, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching.